Want to rise above what holds you back? These are the stories of those fighting that battle. It might also be the story of you. I'm Dan Waldschmidt, author of Edgy Conversations and strategist of billion-dollar companies all over the world. This is Mark Menard, author of The Story of You, the guy who knows a thing or two about never giving up. You're listening to Elevating Beyond. Let's get started.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Elevating Beyond with a two-word mission statement: change lives. And today I'm sitting up here, I am here with Garrett, Mr. Garrett Lee. And Garrett drove here from Cincinnati. Garrett is the author of The Game Plan for Success. And I always like to share a little bit with everyone before we get into his whole story. I've gotten to know Garrett, I'd say over the past few years. I think, like we were saying before, we originally met when Les Brown was speaking through our good man, Greg Walker.
Yep.
And I believe Greg Walker, the big dreamer, is how we connected. So what's up, Greg? Thank you for the connection. And then we had a speaking event out at Dreamshine, which you came to.
Correct.
And what was cool is throughout all this, it was neat to see Garrett like at a younger age, and I noticed he would be really like coming to learn, investing and absorbing the information like a sponge. But then I continued to see him really grinding behind the scenes with like his speaking career, obviously with his book, and getting more and more out there as a speaker. But what we're going to talk about today, and this is so important in this day and age where people are selling these courses of buy my course and make $1 million as a speaker in 18 months. But it's all over the place. Buy my book, become an author and a speaker and be making six figures in 6 months. And I'm not, maybe that's it, but there's so many different levels that even happen. And then I'm always looking at, even if you make six figures, is that even but what if you spent $110,000 in expenses? Are they really talking net, gross? It's just, anyway.
Yep.
Well, first of all, how are you doing today, Garrett?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited and delighted to have this opportunity, Mark, to be on your show.
It's awesome to have you here after the years. Drove down from Cincinnati.
Yes, sir.
And this has been cool. Like, welcome to the new studio. The studio has been great. We've had guests here from Arizona.
Nice.
The furthest one flew in from Dubai.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was great. That was a great one. We have I have a guest that's being booked actually in the fall that's coming from Australia. So we're getting them from all over. And this has been awesome, and I've been telling everyone, and thank you everyone for all your feedback. Having it here, you got the audio, but just live in this whole new studio has been taking it to a new level. And we were talking before the show, you know, I love the part of your journey where you were saying, you know, like, first of all, you were what, like a senior in high school when you started having...
Senior in college,
sorry. When you started having this dream of like, I think I want to be a speaker, a motivational speaker. Now,
right.
were you majoring in like communication or anything? What was your major?
I was a marketing major.
Okay, that makes sense. So were you looking at, before that, thinking like, okay, well, I could do something maybe with marketing? Or did you just feel like I'm going to start marketing myself? Like, I'm just wondering, how did that, like, and also I'm always curious about this. What made you feel like what did you want to share to like motivate people?
Definitely, great question. When I was in college, I officially declared my major as marketing my junior year. So what happened was, I was introduced to a professional sales course that was a part of the marketing program. So I got involved with that, learned more about the professional sales side of marketing. And when I was a junior, my goal was to graduate, to get a job in a professional sales field, doing some professional selling. So that was my goal.
Which would have related to your degree and what you were doing.
Exactly. Maybe something with outside sales.
But you didn't do that.
No.
But okay, so like when all of a sudden you started having this vision of I want to be a motivational speaker, I guess what I'm saying is like what was it that made you, was it seeing someone else doing it, or was it like having an experience of I have a story to share that I think would help other people? Like what motivated you to want to be a motivational speaker?
Great question. Let's dig into it. So as I stated, I got involved into a sales program at the University of Cincinnati, and it was my sophomore year. There was a lady named Dr. Jane Soika. She came from Ohio University, and she brought the sales program to University of Cincinnati. So there was a program called the UC Sales Team, and it was introduced to me. I took the class, Professional Selling, and at first, Mark, I thought it was a bit lame. I thought it was kind of corny, and I kind of pushed back from it. And then I spoke with Dr. Soika, and she says, Garrett, I want you to connect with one of the students who's a part of this program. So I came out to a meeting, I gave it a shot, and it was interesting, Mark. It was a group of students that were serious about a career in professional sales, and they were doing role plays and they were practicing and gearing up for this huge sales contest, huge sales competition down in Atlanta, Georgia. It was called the NCSC, the National Collegiate Sales Competition. And so I ended up getting involved.
So when you say they were doing role playing, they were and I've seen this where because it's where they're working off of like negotiating a sale, and it's almost like you have this predetermined budget that the other person doesn't know, and you're trying to help, and they have like these different things they've studied. Because this is a whole other tangent, but there's a great book I'm gonna have to it's with you after. Written by a guy that his job was, he was a negotiator for when people were kidnapped by terrorists, or when people in other countries have been kidnapped and they say like, we want 100,000 for you to get your daughter back. He learned how to know, and he shares the tactics he learned, and how those applied to business and stuff, and how everyone was doing it wrong in business. It's crazy what it goes into, but. Totally side tangent.
Sure.
But anyway, so you ended up in Atlanta.
Yeah, ended up in Atlanta, did a lot of networking, landed an internship from this experience. But what happened, Mark, was I was a part of this program for 2 years up until I graduated, my sophomore until my senior year in college. Getting involved with that program, it opened me up a lot. I wasn't always this super outgoing and really polished when it came to presentation and networking and soft skills. That program opened me up. Now, right before I graduated, I was the co-founder of a new existing club. It was called the UC Sales Leadership Club, more focused on leadership. And what I did was I was the recruitment officer. I would actually schedule 3-minute presentations with professors. These were freshman classes. And I would send out a cold email saying, hey, my name is Garrett. I'm a part of this new organization. Could I just have 3 minutes of your time to present in front of your students? And every time they would say, absolutely. So I would just get out there, show up, and right before class started, I would get up in front of the students. I would say, hello, my name is Garrett Lee. This is the organization I'm with, the UC Sales Leadership Club. And I would ask them a question. Who wants to enhance their leadership skills here on campus? All their hands went up. And I would ask them, who wants to get a job when they graduate? All their hands went up. And what ended up happening, Mark, was I got this list of all these students that were interested in this new program, and I brought it to my advisor, and she's like, oh my gosh, Garrett, this is great. But the takeaway from that one of many experiences getting in front of these freshmen, there was something about getting in front of students and people and sharing everything that I had learned over the years and acting as a sponge and giving people the opportunity to learn, grow, and develop. And for me personally, when I can have an impact on someone's life, then that does it for me. The light bulb, it went off. That's what gets me excited and delighted, is when I have the opportunity to get in front of people and give back and make an impact. When I can become influential and help people maybe change their current perspective, but encourage them, motivate them, and inspire them to maybe demonstrate some type of change so that they can achieve the goals that they have set to achieve.
Whatever they are, or even realize goals beyond like their preconceived limitations that they thought that they had set up on themselves.
Yep.
But and then there's two things. Like there's one that we'll get into about the importance and the power of like the authenticity,
Right.
which became and is a huge part of what you do.
Sure.
But then there's the gap, and you're still on the journey. Like you started to be getting some great gigs, and but it's still always a process. But then there's like the in between of, okay, now I'm starting to see like I like this thing about helping people and like empowering people and with my own style and my own way.
Right.
And you start thinking like maybe I could be doing something else besides. It's funny in a way. It is marketing, but it's really like you're having to market yourself, which is the hardest. By the way, one of the most vulnerable things to do, because when you're getting rejected, it's hard for anything, for your book or for your company or for a new client, or you're selling something. It sucks. It's hard.
Right.
But when you're putting it all on the line and you're selling yourself or speaking or whatever, and you don't even hear back, or that's like you're marketing you're getting rejected. And then you're thinking like, man, am I, and it gives good content to talk about later. But when you're going in that moment, so you graduate, and we were talking pre-show.
Yeah.
But this is so important for people to hear. You said you started just reaching out, like handwriting letters, just just let everyone know what you started doing.
Yeah. So right after I graduated, I had this vision of getting involved more with motivational and public speaking. So I have a best friend named Darius Norman. I said, hey, D, can you make a website for me? So spent some time getting the website together. And as I was telling you earlier before the show, I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't have any kind of guidance or direction. I was just putting myself out there. So I actually, I created my own mailing campaigns. I would actually go to the library and I would type up these personalized letters and send them off to every church in the Cincinnati area I could think of.
So not just like an email list or something, like physical.
Yeah.
Because it takes time to do all that. I remember when we were starting Dreamshine, making brochures on an old like Word program, printing them off on this crap, hand mailing them out to anywhere and everywhere.
That's what I was doing. I went to the library, and I didn't have a personal printer in my house, so I was using up all their printer. I would dig in my pockets, and I'm just feeding those dollar bills.
Yeah, where it's like 10 cents a page or something.
And
I've been there.
And every church I could think of, I'm just sending these mailings to them. And as I was telling you earlier, I would say a minimum of 100.
Yeah.
No less than 100. And what happened was I ended up getting 0 responses back. So
I just, like, honestly, let everyone hear. So you sent at least 100.
At least.
Now you guys have to think of your hand. This isn't just a blast, one letter blasted out to 100 emails. Not 100 is still. It's having 100 typed up letters, send them out. And at this point, you're not even asking for a fee.
Nope.
You're just saying, please, I want to come speak. I want to share my story. I want to help motivate.
Correct.
However you're writing it, and out of those, like, it's like crickets. It's just 0.
0, literally. And I would even I would follow up via phone calls, leave voice messages. Nada. 0.
This is the part that the authenticity of you talking about it, because it's real. Mm-hmm. And anyone that goes up and speaks and has made it and says they haven't gone through this is by the way, they're lying, because everyone goes through in one way or another. It's part of the journey.
Yep.
Most people don't share. But then that's the point where a lot of people are going to give up. They're going to be like, this must not be what I should be doing. But you mentioned to me you had a mentor, or you started connecting with a mentor. Were you connected at this point, or did you start getting connected later on in your...
It was a little bit later after that point.
Okay.
That I connected.
So what
with
was
the
your
mentor.
next step after you had done those and heard back zero?
So I didn't know really what to do.
Were you thinking of giving up yet, or were you just like, I'm still gonna keep, I gotta try something else?
I was thinking of giving up, but in addition to the churches, I started cold emailing schools, high schools, and some colleges, and again, lots of rejection. Some schools had smaller budgets or no budget to bring in a speaker, and I didn't hear back from a lot of schools. I mean, at this point, I was reaching out to nonprofits and churches and schools, and I thought I was doing everything I could, Mark. And after a while, I thought it was a wrap. I thought it was over for me.
Yeah.
So I did have a mentor who I connected with, who was a professional speaker, and a very established entrepreneur. And he would always challenge me. He would always ask me what I'm doing, how am I reaching out, and how am I really maximizing off of my connections within my network. But I called him up one day and I said, hey, listen here, John, I've been doing everything I could. It seems like I've sent all these letters out to all these churches. And actually, I forgot to tell you, I had 2 people that I did hear back from, and they ended up going ghost on me. I had one meeting scheduled with a pastor of a church, and I went to the church.
Oh, that's right. So the few out of the hundreds that you finally did get a meeting with, now you've got, to backtrack that, now I've got a meeting, someone's showing some interest, so you show, okay, cool, we're going to meet. You show up, you're at the church. And what happens?
I went to the church, I opened the door up, and the alarm goes off. There was no one there. They forgot to, program the alarm. And I did ended up getting a hold of the pastor of the church, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot all about our meeting. I apologize, and never got rescheduled. And there was another church.
So it wasn't like, I'm sorry, I'll come meet. You didn't. It was just, then after that, it just faded off. So
just
it basically ended up being like another rejection.
Another rejection. Yeah, that felt real bad.
Yeah.
Drove all the way out there in my car on my day off work, and that was tough. And another...
It's tough to keep... People don't... I love you sharing this, because people could see you on the show now. Then you're getting more things. You're getting more jobs. You have your book. Over time, people will be seeing you speaking everywhere, like years and years. But to hear like on the show and the process of like, they just don't... And I like people to hear this, to know, not if, but when you go through these things, it's hard. Like, you're leaving that, I know what it feels like when you leave that after the alarm went off and all that, and he didn't show up, and then he's not showing like, I'll be there, I'll make it. You can kind of feel, I don't even think he cares. And it's just like, you get in your car and you're like, what am I even doing? You know what I mean? Like, those are some tough, quiet drives that people that like, just the long, you're just like, what? Like, what am I doing? People don't see that part of what it takes, But you get back up and you keep doing it.
Yeah, but so what happened was, you were asking about, did I ever think of giving up?
Yeah.
Now at this point, again, I was all out. People say you got to be all in. I was just about all out. So I call up a good mentor of mine. I gave him the rundown of everything I've been going through. I told him how I was frustrated, and how I thought maybe, I was too young. Maybe it just wasn't a good fit for me, this whole motivational, inspirational speaking type of thing. And he began to really give me some really good words of encouragement. He said, Garrett, he said, when you start going through these times of frustration and these times of depression and these times of confusion, this is not the time to give up. this is the time to do some reevaluating of maybe your current position. He said there could be a variety of things, maybe why things, why your seeds aren't blossoming as you anticipated. He said it could be maybe your approach, or maybe it's how you're going about contacting these event coordinators or these organizations. Maybe it's the topic. He said there could be a variety of things, but he said most importantly, I never told you this journey was going to be easy.
Yeah.
He said if this thing was easy, everyone would be doing it.
That's right.
So he told me to just hang in there. He gave me some good pointers. He told me to just keep maximizing off of my current connections within my network. He would say, make sure you're going on your social media, get on LinkedIn, make sure you're staying connected with HR representatives and event coordinators. He said, just keep plugging at it. And next thing you knew,
Did you change? Did you change like any? Because it's hard, and that's good, and that's important though. Like I just want everyone listening, it's important that it's not just about like not giving up and keep on doing the same thing over and over. It's part of being to adjust, and like you keep going, but you got to step back and like course correct, and okay, I got to focus more here and do less, because you're going into uncharted territory.
Right.
But it's like you got to be able to step back and say, wait, this isn't necessarily working. I'm not giving up, but I need to change and put maybe less focus here and more here. And like, was there any main areas that you kind of started making some changes in, or did you just start doing more of reaching out to like different sources?
Both. I kept with the reaching out. I kept reaching out to a variety of sources. The advice I was given was to, make sure I'm reaching out to event coordinators, staying connected on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And also there's a couple different sites for speakers. They can go and create profiles.
Give me people there. We got people that are tons of business owners, entrepreneurs, speakers, authors listening. So anything that's helpful.
Yeah, he said go on Gig Salad. He said go on Gig Masters.
I remember you told me about Gig Masters too.
Speaker Mash. He said make sure you are, make sure you're advertising who you are, you're marketing your brand as a speaker on these sites, and make sure that you're out there.
And those can be like, they have different plans, but I mean they can be like $10 a month. You don't have to do a crazy expensive setup. I know they have different price points, right? But just letting people know if they're getting into it, like it's putting the time in and setting a profile up. But you can do, I think they even have like free trial versions.
Yep, some do. Gig Master specifically is $140 for 3 months.
$140 for 3 months.
And then you can pay extra money to have like a feature profile that way,
So it's not like you're having to just immediately shell out like thousands of bucks or something to get onto this.
No, not at all.
That's good, because a lot of people don't know that's even there.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, there's some reasonable programs and sites out there in which you can go and really invest into, so you can get yourself out there, market your personal brand, and potentially land some speaking opportunities.
Yeah.
But I kept plugging away, and still a lot of rejection going on. I had one phone call from actually a well-known company in my area, and I had a friend that worked there.
Yeah.
Who worked in the HR, and he gave me some great feedback. He said, "Hey Garrett, listen, I want to be straightforward with you. What our company is looking for when it comes to speakers coming in, they want somebody that's a bit more credentialed, more experienced, someone who has a book out and an established program." And that was just like, wow. But I mentioned those sites, Gig Masters and Thumbtack. I got a lead that came through on Gig Masters. There was a company in my city, and they were looking for a speaker for like an annual kickoff event. So, I reached out and spoke with the event coordinator, had a great conversation, and it was for a small fee.
Yeah.
But I was just focused on getting the opportunity, Mark.
Sure.
And we had a conversation, and it worked out well, and I landed the opportunity. Now, Mark, you have to understand, this was my first corporate engagement.
Yeah, and
so-
you had had hundreds of rejections, and so
Hundreds
even if
of-
it would have been for free, like the fact that you get in, then plus even though it's a small fee, it's not, but you were getting something, you were getting paid
Yep.
to speak.